Toshitele to everyone, and welcome to our course on Tibetan grammar. So, during previous class, we were discussing the particle of ni, and we discussed the two usage cases which were directly stated in the text. And today we're going to discuss two more usage cases. So we're going to discuss the usage cases which are not directly stated in the text, but are rather inferential. So something that is an inferential usage case. So before we begin today's lesson, let us begin with the verse of dedication. Today's verse is quite interesting, should I say, and you'll understand why so, because it is written in a style in which a repetition of the same sound has been used, but each repetition of the sound is providing a different meaning. So let us begin today's class with this verse. So the first line, as we all know, is the line of taking refuge, line of paying homage. So jambe thamji kyambala chatselo. So this is the line of refuge, line of paying homage to the Manjushri. So let me first read the entire verse, and then afterwards I will read the translation. Jambe thamji kyambala chatselo. Tsigang kanki kankang ju. Kodun dönbe döndönam lale lala ko. Xie min. So let me repeat this once. So like I said, there is repetition of the same word, same sound. In each line, you can see that there is repetition of the same sound. But one must understand that though it is repetition of the same sound, it has a different meaning. As in the order of occurring in the line. So therefore, jambe thamji kyambala chatselo. Tsigang kanki kankang ju. Kodun dönbe döndönam lala ko. Xie min. Okay, so let us go to the English translation and understand what it means. It says, the first line is, I prostrate to you, O the all-knowing Manjushri, the omniscient and all-knowing Manjushri, I prostrate to you. And the first line states, a single line can state a whole lot of whats. So when we think about this, whats means, it could also mean questions. It could also mean answer. The meaning of the spoken meanings, the meaning of the spoken meaning, it means that the meaning of the things that has been spoken is understood in various ways by various people. The line, as you can see here, you can see lala kos. So the first lala refers to various people, and the second lala refers to in various ways. So is understood in various ways by various people. Just because one knows how to imitate the words doesn't make them the teacher. So therefore, we start with this verse today, and dedicating this verse to all of the students present today and to Manjushri. Let us begin today's verse with great auspiciousness. So this is the verse from the Tree of Excellent Speech, which is a commentary on the 30 by the scholar Yangchen Dorje. In this, we have extracted this line, which tells us about which introduces us to the very particle and the usage case of that particular particle. So not only does it introduce us to the particle, it also tells us the usage case. So let me repeat this. It's just a repetition from the previous class to make things much clearer. From here onwards, all the particles will be known as independent particles. Independent particle in which aspect? Independent in which aspect? Independent in the aspect that when it follows a word or a name, these particular type of particles, when being used with a name or a word, is something that need not follow a particular rule. Whereas for the particles that has been already covered, for those who are joining me from the previous course and those who are also catching up with the previous semesters, you can understand the fact that the previous particles that we studied were all dependent particle. Dependent in which aspect? Dependent on the rules which dictates which particle should follow which word, either on the basis of the suffix letter or on the basis of a particular system or structure. And since these particles, the particle starting from the particle of ni, which is the first of the independent particles, these particles do not have to follow. These particles need not follow such rules to follow a name or a word. And that is the reason why these particles are called independent particles. So therefore, this single line tells us two very important things about the particle of ni. First, it introduces us to the particle of ni. Second, it tells us about the usage cases where you can use it. What are the usage case that you can use this ni? And also another thing, it also should be understood that we're only going to talk about the usage cases in terms of statement. So it will be talked in terms of statement. The syntax or the structuring will be done on the basis of the functioning of the statement. There will be no specific explanation, or there won't be any emphasis on the particle in a way that particle holds greater significance in a statement. So therefore, our focus of understanding would be understanding the statement and how the statement affects the particle and not the other way around. Because like we already discussed, particles, connective particles, in previous classes, we have discussed that these are words that cannot manifest a meaning by themselves, and providing certain type of meaning or definition to particular particle is against the very nature of that particular type of word. Since it is something that cannot manifest a meaning independently, giving a meaning independent to it, independent to what? Independent to the statement that is being used, is against the very meaning of connective particle, which comes under words which cannot manifest a meaning independently. Similar to the companion word, which are part of a name that cannot manifest a meaning by itself. It needs to be connected. It needs to be associated with other names in order to manifest a meaning. Definitely, some of those companion words that you will encounter also have a usage as an independent word. But in that case, recognize that those are not the companion word, but the independent word. But the connective particles, for the connective particles, it should be understood that if it's a connective particle, it comes under a category where it cannot manifest a meaning by itself, and it needs to manifest a meaning by being associated to a particular usage case or a statement or a narration. Okay, so this is the line that we saw yesterday. Sorry, previous class, we saw during previous class, which tells us about the particle, which tells us about the usage case. So in the text, we will see, in the text it states, Nini karta ne betra, meaning that ni can be used in only two types of statement. Statement in which you either specify or you you separate. So generally known as the separating case statement, where you specify a certain phenomena, or you specify you specify or you separate a certain phenomena from its class or group. And then the second one is the emphasis case, nimpa. And these two are these usage cases which are directly stated in the text. So the text also, the text of 30 also states these two usage cases. But today we're going to discuss the usage cases which are inferential and not directly stated in this line. So the usage cases are not stated in this line and are inferential. Okay, so let me read the Tibetan line. Like I said in the previous class, this is to make sure that every one of you have a certain type of impression of Tibetan upon you. So it's for getting used to hearing and probably reading and writing or speaking Tibetan. 니제 체기 던조 저치도 미세와 슈텐도 고겨봐 니데 니송 점바다 치제 소기 치장 말롱와 대주 제바 니제 체기 던조 저치도 미세와 슈텐도 고겨봐라 니데 니송 점바다 치제 소기 치장 말롱와 대주 제바. So the two inferential case that is used here. So the particle of ni also has two inferential usage cases, which is not stated directly in the text of 30. And since it's not directly stated in the text of 30, you'll also find that it's not written in the Tree of Excellence speech. So in the text of 30, as well as the Tree of Excellence speech, but are inferential usage cases. The usage cases which are inferential. The two inferential usage cases is the inferential emphasis case. It's an emphasis case, but it is different from the emphasis case that we have learned in the previous class. And usage case as a filler for lines in a verse that doesn't have enough number of syllables. So in the traditional Tibetan poem, there is something called tsikim or tsekbar. In traditional poetry, we have a concept called tsekbar. Tsekbar is the concept which we usually understand as syllable. So a single word can be a single syllable word in Tibetan, like so. So is a single syllable word. But then it could be also multiple syllable word like nangpa, pöik, nida. And it could be more than two. For example, kalowa, logo pece. So we see that all of these words have different number of syllable. So in the traditional poetry writing of Tibetan, which is based on the Kavya Darsa, the system of poetry writing in the Kavya Darsa by Dandi, there is a concept of having same number of syllable in a line. So there is 7 syllable line, there is 8 syllable line, there is 13, 9, most common being the 9, 7, 11, and some even 13. And more challenging ones are the 3, 4, or in some cases, more than 13. So therefore, in these, according to these rules, there should be the same number of syllable in each of the lines or of the verse. But when one is unable to fill or fulfill the required number of syllable, then one is able to use ni to fill in for one syllable that is not present, or one syllable that the line is short of. So we understand that nida can be used also in cases where it can be used as a filler for lines of a verse that doesn't have enough number of syllable, because ni itself is one syllable. So these two are inferential cases, meaning that these are usage of ni, but these are not written in the text. We will understand that as we try to understand the text 30, there are many inferential cases that the 30 has not included in writing, but it is made clear by many of the Tibetan scholars, as well as the Indian scholar Smriti Gyana in his Armor of Words. He has made many rules and many inferential cases clear for the people to understand. So therefore, these two inferential cases are also stated in the Armor of Words by Smriti Gyana, as well as there is emphasis by Siddha Rinpoche in his oral instruction to Dharmapada, in his commentary of oral instruction to Dharmapada, in which he also emphasizes on this inferential usage case. Okay, so the first one, 你送你念把的从行，团忙不了米住行，团记念把了可给说。The inferential emphasis case is like the emphasis case. It is like the emphasis case which we have studied in the previous class, meaning that the function is similar. That is to put emphasis upon, to put emphasis, functioning to emphasize something. So it's an emphasizing statement, but with a single difference. That is, the inferential emphasis case, unlike the emphasis case that we have learned previously, doesn't imply emphasis upon more than one statement. So we have studied in the previous class that we can use the particle of ni in the emphasis statement, in an emphasized statement, in order to put emphasis on something. But we have also understood that in the previous emphasis case, this could be done on multiple statements. For example, we had statement like Gegeni yue, Lobtani yue, Tungeni sang, Zhongdeni yue, Ta Lobzhong yi lai guo qie. So in this case, we see that there are four emphasized statements. Four statements have been emphasized. The first one is Gegeni yue, there is teacher. Lobtani yue, there is school. Tungeni sang, the facilities are very good. Zhangdeni yue, there is enthusiasm and interest to study. So we see that during our previous class, the emphasis case is such that it puts emphasis over more than one statement. But this inferential emphasis case, 念诵, unlike the previous emphasis case, only puts emphasis upon one statement. And so that is the difference between the inferential emphasis case and the emphasis case that we studied in the previous class. So we have a statement such as ngani zhe xin, Yangchen ni su tu qiu, chomo langma ni riu. So I am Tashi. Elephant has a strong body, a big body. Chomolangma is a mountain. So we see that in each of these cases, there is an emphasis made. That is, the first one is an emphasis in which it tells that the narrator is tashi, emphasis upon the state of being here, that the narration or the narrator is tashi. And in the second case, we see that the emphasis is upon the elephant being big in body. The third one is an emphasis that Chomolangma is a mountain. So this is Ngesung. Ngesung means Ngepar Sungwa, means to hold something specifically, to separate from general meaning, to hold something specifically. Ngepar Sungwa. So we see that here I is held specifically in order to give a meaning that I am tashi. Similarly with Yangchen, where the elephant is held specifically, and Chomolangma, in which the case the mountain Chomolangma is held specifically. So it should also be understood that even though here it may seem that ni is being translated in a way to be is, but that is not the case. Here the function of is done by, in here it is the confirming verb in. Here these both recompound particles are capable of doing the function of is. So we only talk about how ni is putting emphasis to the statement. So therefore, ngani tashin Yangchen ni sotop cheo, chomo langma ni rio. So all of these cases are case of inferential emphasis case, Ngesung. And it should be understood that instead or in contrast to the emphasis case that we have already studied, here we don't put emphasis over multiple statements. We put emphasis over a single statement. That is the difference between Nemba and Ngesung. Nemba, which is the emphasis case that we studied previously, has emphasis over multiple statements. Whereas this particular usage case, that is of the inferential emphasis case, we see that emphasis is put only on a single statement and upon a single narration. So upon a single statement. So this is the Ngesung. That emphasis is given here, that Tashi is my friend. So therefore, we understand this in this way. It's a statement in which there is emphasis given to a particular statement, but only a single statement. But it should be also understood that in the emphasis case, you cannot say that, oh, in that case, is each of the statement in the emphasis case that we have studied previously an inferential emphasis case? We say it is not, because the thing is that in that case, all of the four, or the three, or the two, or more than three emphasis that has been given are all relating to the single conclusion, meaning that it is an emphasis with a purpose of functioning as a reasoning, functioning as a purpose, functioning as an evidential statement to the final conclusion. Whereas here we can see that each statement is emphasizing and concluding in that sentence at that in that sentence itself, instead of being evidential for anything else other than the statement itself. Meaning that I am touchy is a statement that is putting emphasis on I being touchy, and it's a sentence that is evident that I am touchy. And it doesn't give any more evidence towards any other conclusion other than the statement itself. So this is something that should be understood. Because definitely when I was saying that it should be a single statement, one might think, okay, then in the previous statement, if we just individualize each of the statement that we use for the emphasis case, will it be an inferential emphasis case, which could be a doubt or question that might arise? Then one should say that no, because we see that all of these four statements that we have already studied in the emphasis case is stated as an evidence statement for a single conclusion. Whereas here, the single statement functions to give evidence for that very statement and for the very purpose to state that very statement. That is the purpose of the emphasis in inferential emphasis case. It's a single statement. It applies to a single statement. It's pervasive to a single statement. Okay, so this is the inferential emphasis case. Now, the second one is usage as a filler for lines in a verse that doesn't have enough number of syllables. So this is a usage case. Cikje soki cikjang malong war peju chebani cikje la cekbar chang cikbar gobar cekbar chang malong war na ja peju chebas, meaning that in some cases, even though it is required to have a certain number, certain amount of syllable, in a particular line of a verse, but there are cases where one is unable to come up with that one syllable, or they're unable to add a word to that line without changing the meaning. And in those cases, the nida, the particle of ni, is used as a filler. It is used as a filler, which what it does is that it fills that space of the one missing syllable in order to maintain the number of syllable in the verse. So this you can also see here. This here, as I have written here, you can see that in each of these lines, you can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 syllable. Tik, 1, kang, 2, kang, 3, ki, 4, kang, 5, kang, 6, 7. So 7 syllable here. So therefore, in this entire verse, in this one verse, you'll see that all of the lines have not violated this rule, meaning that they have been written in order to maintain this rule throughout the verse. So, ko, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, pe, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, num, 7. So you see that both of these have 7 syllable equally. Then la, 1, le, 2, la, 3, la, 4, la, 5, la, 6, ko, 7. Similarly, she, 1, she, 2, she, 3, zam, 4, she, 5, she, 6, min, 7. So you see that all of the lines of this verse syllable. But sometimes it becomes very difficult, especially if you're writing a verse that is longer than 9 syllable line. Sometimes the number of syllable is not met. that you are unable to fulfill the number of syllable in one line. And so in those cases, you can just replace, for example, if I hadn't had this, I could replace this with ni, so that I could have the same number. I could have the same number of syllable in all of the lines of this verse. And when you have the same number of lines, it sounds good. There is a certain type of rhythm. The thing is that here it is 2-2-2-1. Tsigang Kanki Kangkang Je. So 2-2-2-1. Kodun Dönbe Dön Nam 2-2-2-1. Lale Lala Lala Ko 2-2-2-1. Xie 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 Min 2-2-2-1. So you can see that this rhythm, that is 2-2-2-1, 2-2-2-1, 2-2-2-1, follows through the entire verse. But if you violate the rule regarding the syllable, then one of the line would be 2-2-2-2, and there won't be the one, and it will be a discontinuity in this harmony of the number of syllable. And so in those cases, when one is utterly unable to provide the final syllable, they might use ni. And the reason why ni is also used here is that in all of these cases, ni will be neutral, meaning that ni will not add any information to that line, meaning that the information that the poet wants to convey will not be changed by the addition of ni over here. It will be just an addition of a sound, which will not change the meaning, which will not modify the meaning, but still maintain the harmony of the rhythm and the rules of the number of syllable required per verse. So therefore, this is also used in order to fill as a filler for a line in a verse that doesn't have enough number of syllable. So it depends on the verse itself. For example, some verse could be written in a way that it requires 12 syllable each line, 13 syllable each line, or if it's longer one, like one of the poems written by Lama Tsongkhapa, could be 30 something syllable per line, 20 something syllable per line. And therefore, for those type of verses, we see that sometimes it's very difficult to fill a line with enough number of syllable. And in those cases, you can also use ni. And that is called nidra. Tsigang to peju chepa. Tsigang means to fill for missing words, to fill for missing syllable. So therefore, the second inferential usage case is such that it tells us that ni can be used in cases where there isn't enough number of syllable. Okay, so for example, penna kanjiye pyogi yune ni dewe tablam sang ni sang. So here we see that in the first case, kanjiye pyogi yune ni. So in here, ni is not functioning in giving any meaning. One may argue that ni is emphasizing the statement that is before it, but that is not the case. Here, ni serves to just fill in, because you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So both of these lines required 7 syllable. So 2221, 2221. But if we don't have the ni here, we see that the number of syllable is not fulfilled. The number of syllable is not correct. And so just in order to fulfill the number of syllable, we're using ni, and it adds no meaning to the statement. So the statement says, from the snowland of Tibet, the methods of attaining peace is good, or is brilliant or good. So here we see that this is the case here. Here, sang is an emphasis case. It's an emphasis case. But this is used as a filler. La me song cho yang ta ni, tu sum tam che tuene ni. So here we see that in the first case, this is acting, this is functioning as the inferential emphasis case, where it's putting the emphasis of this part and putting an emphasis for this part to be to do what is written here, or have a relation to this. So here it is putting emphasis on this too, unlike here where it doesn't function as giving meaning. But here we see that it doesn't function in giving any meaning, but is only there to fill in order to fulfill the same number of syllable. So Lamya Songcho Yangdani, the excellent teachings of Lama, to hear it all the time, to hear it in 3 times. So therefore here, even though this is the emphasis case, this is the usage case in which ni is used, nida is used as a filler, simply as a filler and nothing else. Because the number of words should be equal, should be matching, should be in harmony. And that is the reason why it is used as a filler. So these two are the inferential usage cases. And then when we also talk about the emphasis case, sometimes emphasis could come as reasoning. And emphasis could also be coming as purpose. So of emphasis, a purpose could follow after the usage of nida in a single statement. So we see, so let me see if I can get it here. Okay, so, yep. So for example, so here we see that the purpose is following the statement, which is committing to providing a particular purpose. So it says that the purpose of doing practice is for the peace of mind. Definitely, it's to help the sentient beings and all the rest, but also to understand that the very peace of mind of oneself is dependent on the welfare of others also, in that way, also doing for others. But the first and foremost, for the peace of mind for oneself. That is the purpose of practicing, to attain a certain level of peace and harmony within oneself. Because only then one is capable to be in a state of providing aid and help to others. Here also providing purpose or reasoning. Khala sepani lu gyawe chetuins. Eating food is to make the body bigger or more muscular or bigger in mass. So you see that sometimes the emphasis case is to provide reasoning. And in some case, it's not to provide reasoning, it's just simply emphasizing to provide a sort of state of being, to provide a state of being, emphasis upon being something. The second one we said is to fill. So like I said here, if it could be like this. If I was not able to find that word, I could also use it like this. So you see that it could be used for both the emphasis case, the inferential emphasis case, and usage in order as a filler in the lines of a verse. So these are the two usage cases. Sekbar. So this is the word, sekbar, which means sellable. So sekbar means sellable. So a particular verse has words, the particular verse has certain amount of sellable, which should be fulfilled. Okay, so these two are the inferential usage cases. Now, before I go to the final verse, is there any questions related? And then afterwards, do we have someone who would like to recite today the fourth portion, who would like to recite the fourth portion? Do we have someone who would like to volunteer to recite the fourth portion of the Tree of Excellent Excellent Speech? Do we have someone? Lasso. Lasso. Okay, so Lasso. So Svetala will be reciting the fourth verse, the fourth portion today. Okay, the first question is, what is the difference between sekbar and ming? For example, tu is a single sekbar. Is it analyzed as? Okay, so ming and sekbar are different. Ming, it's actually understanding how it is being classified as. If we classify something as a ming, it should have a meaning. But sekbar is classified on the basis of the sound. So the word tashi is a ming. But we see that tashi is broken into two sounds, ta and shi. And on the perspective of the sound, the way it is broken in two, we understand it as sekbar, whereas tashi is a ming, which is a combination of basic sound that provides a meaning representing names of phenomena. But Ming, as we have already discussed in previous classes, is also a very broad term. because Ming can also be understood as general terminology, general terms. So everything, be it name, naming word, adjective, action word, connective particle, companion word, ornamental words, all of them can also be considered to be Ming. So Ming has a meaning, but Sekbar, it is just a name given to the different portion of sound. So I hope that this makes it clear, the difference between Sekbar and the Ming. Sekbar is simply classifying on the basis of sound, how many sound in our name, and Ming is the name. Lasso. Okay, let me check. Yes. Lasso. Okay, then what is the second? Lasso, thank you. Verse 38 of Lama Tsongkhapa's condensed point of the stage of part used ni. Lambrim tutor, Je Tsongkhapa Chempe Zebas, Lasso, Sholoka Sumsoke, Sechi Gombe Tingenzi, Drubpay ni. Mebar Jitsu Chi Sechu Shin, Chuban is, Sosor Toba, Yikyang, in Lulas. Your mission to temper never ye. Okay, so this usage case here of the nida. Yes, this is the emphasis case here. This is the emphasis case. Yes, this is the emphasis case, the inferential emphasis case. It is the one used in Lama Tsongkhapa's text, the 38th verse. Lasso. So do we have any more question? Or if not, then let us go to the recitation of the fourth portion. Lasso. Okay, so I think this is it for questions. If you have any question, you can also send it either directly to me or in the channel. So if you have more questions, and the questions that are asked here, please post them at the group so that I could answer them in the group also. Lasso. So Swetala will be reciting the fourth portion.
Ламатан гонфоджесен джентльяну чаксумаком арапаконам ни. Raro ini anyanam kampani konfon wiki. Au amchi konse netam dechini. Nelu julkun kadde julkunyola onchekun. Riktun karmenikunde jula nedra gonazik. Kefon kai sabite.
That's so. Okay, so most wonderful. So now that we have the recitation, let me just read this final verse before we most auspiciously complete today's class. Okay, before I recite this, assignments will be sent regarding the entire 2 classes that we had. The assignments will be sent. Those who are sending me the assignments, please send them. Those who are sending me through sending me directly, please send them. Those who are sending me through email, send it there. I will check them and give you the feedback. If I am not able to respond immediately, I'll try to respond eventually as soon as possible. So therefore, please send them and I will give you feedback regarding each of those assignments that you will be doing. And so let me recite this verse, the final verse. Tsegi jowa chuwe chamayi kowe tuni mongbe kemayi kowa kokyu lona mongchule nilu kowe mila chumong min. So let me recite this once more. Tsegi jowa chuwe chamayi kowe tuni mongbe kemayi kowa kokyu lona mongchule nilu kowe mila chumong min. So you can also observe that here it is like we did for the first verse. We see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 syllable. Tsekbar guje. Tsekbar means syllable. Guje means 9. So tsekbar guje. So tsiki jorwa, tsiki tu, jorwa tu, tulwe tu, cha 1, mai 2. So 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. Kowe 2, tuni 2, mongbe 2, ken 1, mai 2. 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. And now kowa 2, kokyu 2, lona 2, mongchul 2, le 1. Nelu 2, kowe 2, mila 2, chumong 2, 1, min mang. So it should also be understood that as a pair of two lines, both of these could have a different rhythm, the 2, 2, 2, 1, from the first pair of the lines in a verse. But in the entire verse, the number of syllable will remain same. But this is not the case for the contemporary style, the more free, what it's called the contemporary style of writing poetry, the free writing, that is a more liberal form of writing, meaning that there is more liberty in terms of the rules, the traditional rules. And those do not follow the traditional rules of the syllable and the rhythm. They have their own way of writing, and many a times, and also more in the recent times, we can see some of them will have very interesting grammar rules that they have for themselves. So this is based on the rules on the traditional poetry writing, where we follow the number of syllable. Okay, so this line means union of words is not to arise misconceptions, meaning that the union of word which creates the entire existence and meaning is not there to arise misconception. A meaning when if you truly not thinking that you have comprehended, actually comprehending the meaning, then it will not cause any ignorance. If it's causing misconception and ignorance, that means that one is yet to understand the meaning. So a meaning when comprehended is not the cause of ignorance. The wrong view on the truth arises misconception and ignorance, a wrong view upon a truth. And not only that, having the confidence that what they have understood as a wrong view is the truth, arises misconception, ignorance. There is no misconception and ignorance in the mind of the one who comprehends the truth. So the one who have comprehended the truth, there's no longer any misconception and ignorance. And that person who has comprehended the truth, his way of thinking, his way of comprehending things, his state of mind will be in accordance to understanding the truth. So therefore, for whichever purpose the truth needs to be comprehended, his mind will be of that state. So therefore, this is the final verse for today. And thank you very much for joining in. This is it for today. And thank you very much for joining in today. And I hope that this was beneficial to every one of you as it was to me. And that if there is any question, any doubt whatsoever, please understand that you can ask it in the group or personally to me whenever the doubts arise, irrespective of time. And I will answer them as soon as possible. So as soon as possible, I will answer those questions and to the best of my ability. So therefore, thank you very much for joining in. And I wish every one of you a happy morning, noon, or evening, or night, wherever you are. So thank you and tashitele, and I will see all of you, those who are joining me for the grammar class, I will see you during the next class. So tashitele, revise, recite, and rewatch the recordings as many times as it is necessary. Lasso